All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. Humans can learn to like anything. That's why we are such a successful species. I love mankind. It's people I can't stand. It is easier to love humanity as a whole than to love one's neighbor. The worst sin towards our fellow creatures is not to hate them, but to be indifferent to them. That's the essence of inhumanity. The urge to save humanity is almost always a false front for the urge to rule. Humanity, I love you because you are perpetually putting the secret of life in your pants and forgetting it's there and sitting down on it. Without lies, humanity would perish of despair and boredom. It is better to be a human being dissatisfied than a pig satisfied. Better to be Socrates dissatisfied than a fool satisfied. We are not human beings on a spiritual path, but spiritual beings on a human path. The highest human purpose is always to reinvent and celebrate the sacred. You don't have to teach people to be human. You need to teach them how to stop being inhuman. There is no such thing as a weird human being. It's just that some people require more understanding than others do. Of mankind in general, the parts are greater than the whole. I hate humanity and all such abstracts, but I love people. Lovers of humanity generally hate people and children and keep parrots or puppy dogs. Men are born equal, but they are also born different. Somebody must take a chance. The monkeys who did become men and the monkeys who didn't are still jumping around in trees making faces at monkeys who did. I hate mankind, for I think of myself as one of the best of them, and I know how bad I am. How great in number are the little-minded men. I sometimes think that God, in creating man, somewhat overestimated his ability. I wonder men dare trust themselves with men. Man is stark mad. He cannot make a worm, yet he makes gods by the dozens. Man cannot live by incompetence alone. Man that is born of a woman is of few days and full of trouble. Man is an incomprehensible monster. Man is a two-legged animal without feathers. Of all the ways of defining man, the worst is the one which makes him out to be a rational animal. Man's life is a warfare against the malice of men. Darwinian man, though well behaved, at best is only a monkey shaved. Man, in his anxiety to refute evidence that he is a monkey, manages to further the belief that he is an ass. My guess is that well over 80% of the human race goes through life without having a single original thought. There is nothing funnier than the human animal. When people are free to do as they please, they usually imitate each other. Man spends his life in reasoning on the past, in complaining of the present, in fearing for the future. Man is not the creature of circumstances. Circumstances are the creatures of men. Man is at the bottom an animal, midway a citizen, and at the top divine. But the climate of this world is such that few ripen at the top. Man, unlike any other thing, organic or inorganic in the universe, grows beyond his work, walks up the stairs of his concepts, emerges ahead of his accomplishments. Man is not made for defeat. Man is not the sum of what he has, but the totality of what he does not have, of what he might have. I finally know what distinguishes man from the other beasts: financial worries. We must, however, acknowledge, as it seems to me, that man, with all his noble qualities, still bears in his bodily frame the indelible stamp of his lowly origin. Numberless are the world's wonders, but none more wonderful than man. The world is a stage, but the play is badly cast. The earth has a skin, and that skin has diseases. One of its diseases is called man. I believe that man will not merely endure, he will prevail. He is immortal, not because he alone among creatures has an inexhaustible voice, but because he has a soul, a spirit capable of compassion and sacrifice and endurance. Man is a pliable animal, a being who gets accustomed to anything. Man is the only animal that laughs and weeps, for he is the only animal that is struck with the difference between what things are and what they ought to be. The proper study of mankind is man. Man is the only animal that can remain on friendly terms with the victims he intends to eat until he eats them. Man is the only animal that laughs, drinks when he is not thirsty, and makes love at all seasons of the year. Human life is everywhere a state in which much is to be endured and little to be enjoyed. We are all of us guinea pigs in the laboratory of God. Humanity is just a work in progress. One of the greatest pains to human nature is the pain of a new idea. The most melancholy of human reflections, perhaps, is that, on the whole, it is a question whether the benevolence of man does most good or harm. We are all special cases. We all want to appeal to something. Everyone insists on his innocence at all cost. even if it means accusing the rest of the human race and heaven. The human race, to which so many of my readers belong, has been playing at children's games from the beginning and will probably do it till the end, which is a nuisance for the few people who grow up. Humankind cannot bear very much reality. All that is human must retrograde if it does not advance. As far as we can discern, the sole purpose of human existence is to kindle a light in the darkness of mere being. So act as to treat humanity, whether in thine own person or in that of any other, in every case as an end withal, never as means only. Out of the crooked timber of humanity, no straight thing can ever be made. The human species, according to the best theory I can form of it, is composed of two distinct races, the men who borrow and the men who lend. Human life, in all its public or collective manifestations, is only theatre, and mostly cheap melodrama at that. Lay then the axe to the root and teach governments, humanity. It is their sanguinary punishments which corrupt mankind. Human life begins on the far side of despair. I have striven not to laugh at human action, not to weep at them, not to hate them, but to understand them. Human beings are perhaps never more frightening than when they are convinced beyond doubt that they are right. There is in human nature generally more of the fool than of the wise. There is no humanity before that which starts with yourself. Humanity is a superhuman undertaking. Humankind can generally be divided into hunters and people who cope with consequences. Most human beings have an infinite capacity for taking things for granted. Man appears to be the missing link between anthropoid apes and human beings. The fate of human civilization will depend on whether the rockets of the future carry the astronomer's telescope or a hydrogen bomb. The human species is, to some extent, the result of mistakes which arrested our development and prevented us from assuming the somewhat unglamorous form of our primitive ancestors. Human beings, they go on being born and dying, dying and being born. It's kind of boring, isn't it? Each human spirit is immortal, for time cannot destroy whatever element within us reverences the glory of a dawn in the mountains. Human life is but a series of footnotes to a vast, obscure, unfinished masterpiece. We feared the heartlessness of human beings, all of whom are born blind, few of whom ever learn to see. I have no faith in human perfectibility. Man is now only more active, not more happy, nor more wise than he was 6,000 years ago. There is no other universe except the human universe, the universe of human subjectivity. humankind is reflected in his gods. On the whole, human beings want to be good, but not too good, and not all the time.